Well, hello everyone. I'm up here by my garden. I'm working on it, trying to get some more tomato plants planted. And I thought it's a good opportunity to tell you one of my childhood stories. So I'll give you a quick background. I have two older brothers and a younger sister that was born into a family from my mom and my dad, my biological dad, which he passed a couple years ago. Some of you might remember that. But anyhow, at the time when this story took place, we lived just out on the outskirts of Pisgah, just south edge of town. You can look that up, Pisgah, Iowa. But anyhow, there was an old Skelly station in Pisgah. Actually, there was 3 gas stations. There was a Co-op, there was a Skelly, and I don't know what the other gas station was, but I remember it being ran by a lady and her husband, but mainly the lady was there pumping gas all the time. And her son, she had one son, and he was friends with my oldest brother. He grew up with him, or the same age as him at the time. But anyhow, back to my story. My dad and my mom leased that Skelly station. My dad would do oil changes, tire repairs, small mechanic repairs, but my dad was actually a body man by trade. So he pumped gas and he done tire repairs and small repairs like change spark plugs and wires and that kind of stuff. But anyhow, this story happened to happen in that gas station. We used to go to school during the day, and then lots of times in the evening my dad would be in the gas station in one of the bays working on something later in the evening. And I remember there was a local guy that lived in town, I don't know, teenage kid, or he might have been in his early 20s. And I think he was kind of a terror, so to speak, but my dad gave him the benefit of the doubt and kind of looked after him a little bit. And whenever he needed help with something, my dad would help him out, And I remember one time this kid had gotten a car and it had a little rust on it. Like it said, my dad was a body man. So I remember him coming in and talked to my dad and asked him if he'd give him some pointers on how to fix the body on this car. It was rusted above the wheels and stuff. So my dad made a deal with him to come in after hours and they'd work on it together. My dad would give him pointers and stuff and show him what to do, tell him what to do to fix the rust on his car. Well, when I was a little kid, I was a pack rat, man. Anything I found on the ground, a marble, a rock, a pop cap, you name it, I was picking it up. Well, I remember being down there in the evening while this guy was working on his car and my dad was giving him pointers. Well, they were pop ribbon and tin, rather than cut out the rust and weld new panels in. They were doing it on the cheap. And they were pop ribbon and metal over those holes and then going to fill it with Bondo or whatever. So I'd go in the shop, and as he was popping them pop rivets and the little nail part of the pop rivets would fall and hit the ground, boy, I'd snatch them up as fast as I could. And I'd carry on a conversation with this guy, and he asked me what I'm doing with them little pop rivet pieces, and I said, oh, I don't know, just collecting them. So I got a heck of a bundle of them time he got done. Well, I was busy talking to him and happened to find a penny on the floor. And I said to him, look at this penny. I told him what year it was. Well, in the gas station we had a gumball machine. It cost 1 cent for a piece of gum. And so I told him, I said, here's this penny. I said, I'm gonna go get a piece of gum and I'll be right back. And I said, matter of fact, when I come back, I'm gonna have the same penny. I don't know what made me tell him that, but I said, I'm gonna have this same penny. I had him look at it and verify the year. And this is in the early 70s. I don't even know if I'd started school yet. It might have been the summer before I started kindergarten, I believe. But anyhow, so I went to that gumball machine and stuck that penny in there. And I slowly turned the knob. Click, 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 click. Out dropped the gum. As soon as that gum dropped, I tried turning the knob back, and when I did, there was a penny. So I slid it up out of that little slot where it goes in, grabbed my gumball, and I ran in there and I showed that guy. I said, see the gumball I got? It might have been a yellow one or green one. I don't remember the color, but I said, look at that. And I said, look, I still got the same penny. Look at the year. He looked at the year. Yep, looks like the same penny. I said, I'll be back. I threw that gum in my mouth. I said, I'm going to be back. I'll be back. I'm going to get another gumball. So I ran in there and I stuck that penny in there and I turned that knob slow. Click, 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 and the gumball dropped out. So I snatched it up. I turned that knob back and there was a penny I pulled out. And I went back in there and I said, see, I got another gumball. It ain't the same one. It's a different color. And I said, I still got the same penny. I showed him the penny and yep. I done that about 5 or 6 times, going in there and getting a gumball. And now, mind you, my brothers were around, my 2 older brothers. I don't know if my sister's there. She might have been home with Mom. But I kept going in there and doing it secretively, getting that gumball, and going back and showing that guy, and then having verify I still had that same penny. Man, I couldn't keep that a secret. You know, my brother, Bert, he's 13 months older than me, and we were pretty close growing up, and especially when we were real little. We always played together. And anyways, I let it slip. I said, hey, watch this, and I showed him. And I gave him the gumball. I showed him how I done it, and I gave him the gumball. And he's like, so then he started bugging my mom. He didn't tell her what we done, but he bugged my mom about a penny. I want a penny, I want a penny, I want to get a gumball. So finally she gave all of us kids a penny, so then I had 2 pennies. I had the one I'd been using all night, then I had a second one. Well, then I'm going and I've done that several times, and my brother done it. Well, my oldest brother, he just put his gumball in, or his penny in, and got his gumball and chewed it. My sister done the same. But me and my brother, half the night while we were there, we kept slowly turning that and getting the gumball and turn the handle back and getting our penny out. Well, that went on that evening, and we finally had to go home. We couldn't wait to get back to the station next day to carry on. Well, of course, I had them 2 pennies, and my brother, I think that next day, he was doing his penny, and he went a little too far. He clicked, and he forgot, you know, or he went one click too far after the gum dropped, and it wouldn't go down. Well, then he expected me to give up one of my pennies, because I still had them 2 pennies, the one I initially found, and the one my mom gave me the night before. And I didn't want to part with it, and then he was bugging my mom about getting a penny. So then finally I gave a penny to my brother. And I don't know, we done that for a little bit, you know, and then we didn't go to the gas station for a long time. And then, of course, something happened later on, but I'm going to save that for a second story. And I hope you enjoyed this story. It's true, it's really what happened. But I'm going to give you part 2 of what happened later on in the next video. I'll see y'all later, and don't forget I love you. Bye.